Good evening, Fernwood. It is your opulent orator Neil, and there are just oct episodes of Mary Hartman left to watch. We are watching episode 318 from June 22nd, 1977. This week has been pretty much a thing, so let's look at yesterday. We started with the Shumways, who were counting their winnings from the big wrestling match of the previous couple of episodes. Martha is concerned about the pains that Kathy has been feeling, though Kathy blows it off. George thinks they've got it set for easy street since they can continue the wrestling business indefinitely, and then they get a visit from Max Slattery and Svetlana, and it looks like the couple are getting married and moving away. The Shumways say their goodbyes and Max says thank you. Then after the couple leaves, Kathy does some number crunching and realizes that after all of the bills are paid, they're just gonna have $50. Martha then has one of her premonitions. She has been feeling them for a while that someone in the family is doomed. Kathy tries to settle her down but then gets knocked out. George goes to make sure that she's okay, but no one is sure what to expect. Next door at the Hartmans, Tom is doing laundry for possibly the first time, and then gets a visit from Wanda, who has heard that Mary has left. She apologizes to Tom for advising her to go off with Dennis. Then Wanda introduces her plan to make things easier in the Hartman home, which is to bring in a young woman named Lorraine. Lorraine is thrilled to be making a home and starts cleaning up and doing chores immediately. Of course, Tom is still holding on to the memory of Mary and says that only Mary will be cleaning this house. She hated it and she only did it because she loved me. Heather comes in and drops a load of laundry on the kitchen floor, and Lorraine tries to be friendly, and Heather rejects that out of hand. Then Wanda and Lorraine head off to get some hairdos, and Tom is skeptical of the whole ordeal. Then, in an examining room, the Shumways meet with Dr. Furman about Kathy's injuries. The doctor says that her head is fine, but her kidney is failing. George and Martha aren't sure how serious that is, and essentially she'll need dialysis or a transplant, and they don't have the money for dialysis. Of course, everyone is not sure what to make of this, but Martha's premonition says that Dr. Furman is right. And finally, it is late at night in the Hartman kitchen as Tom gets a knocking, and it's the Shumways and Dr. Furman. Tom's not sure why they are there so late at night, but clearly it's an emergency. Heather pops in and Martha asks if she can go get Mary, and Heather has to tell them that Mary left probably to run off with Dennis Foley. Of course, Mary was the donor that they were looking for, so now they have to look for someone else. Luckily, Heather has a list of all of the blood types of the family, so they write off George and Martha, who are not the right type. Grandpa Larkin isn't confident about the health of his kidneys, but Tom has the right type and he volunteers he wants to go. But Dr. Furman discourages that since his kidneys are probably riddled with alcohol. Then Martha thinks to call a friend, and that would be H.V. Johnson, who George did not realize had been dating her while he was away with the Boca Ziti. Martha calls Detective Johnson, and it seems kind of flirty for a 2 a.m. call. But we do not hear the response to that because then we wipe over to the Shumway home where Kathy is watching westerns and looking worried. George comes in because he hears a noise and sits with his daughter, who looks like she really needs someone to listen to her. Kathy is worried and scared, but George says that he will be there with her. He is there to protect her and make sure that she is safe and happy. And George and Kathy end the episode watching that western. Everyone, yesterday was sweet and the day before was explosive. This series, at this point, we're in the last 8 episodes. It has been going all over the place, so I don't really know how to describe what we can expect. I don't know what to expect. Let's just do it and stop expecting.
Mary Hartman! Mary Hartman!
No, I know what I'm doing. Barth, would you mind an awful lot if we just turned the TV set off for a few moments during our deep and pitiful depression that we got?
Not a bit. Hey, the best television show in the world is no fun when people are miserable. Charlie, but wait just a second, though, okay? Because Margie is just going to show her dad that she washed his shoes in the bathtub.
Is that a major type event you got going there, Barth?
It is if you're really interested in what makes a hit show click. You know what I mean?
You'll have to kind of excuse the fact that, I'm not freely talking with you about all this showbiz stuff and all that. Like I would if I was just my normal, everyday, bound for glory superstar himself and all. But see, just this horrible stuff's been happening for they that I love lately.
Well, I know what you mean. That's very nice of you. Thank you. I am getting a little nervous over the reception. You picked up on that. Sorry, I didn't think I was letting my frustrations show quite so much.
Listen, hon, I'll just temporarily put aside my spare over Mary's marriage and I'll jiggle these wires if you
Sure, set.
Honey, I don't really think that you ought to be fooling around with electricity, honey.
Better. Worse.
Honey, let George do it. Sweetheart, George Shumway's the best electrician on this block.
That's good right there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Honey, you should let George fix it. He can fix almost anything.
Well, I sure wish you could fix broken marriages, particularly Mary's.
I ain't complete and positive sure that Mary's coming back.
Perfect. Okay, so Margie is in the house, but she doesn't want her father to know she's in the house, so she's pretending she's a chair.
Barth, Loretta and me got some heavy type suffering to do just right now. It's a mite distracting having a comedian in the living room, you know what I mean?
Charlie, don't you think that I understand what you and Loretta are going through? Well, as a matter of fact, I don't. Okay, but I can understand there's some suffering going on here. And hey, pals, I've been down that road before myself. I know you look at me and may not look it, but I'm an in-tune guy. The trick is, you gotta bounce back. You know what I mean? See, that's what I like so much about you two. You really got a lot of pluck. In fact, until now, it's been almost inspirational for a guy like me. You know, a guy that lost everything in the world. In fact, I gotta tell you, this very moment right now, it's a little bit of a downer. I mean, you people are being very depressing. Hey, I'm sorry, Charlie, but I just think sometimes telling the truth helps. Okay?
What?
He is absolutely right. I mean, lately all I have been doing is just walking around in the pits of depression, and I've got to just get myself out of there and look up on the bright side. You know? Now, I mean, lately there's hardly been one single solitary enthusiastic note to come out of my mouth, which is not only a disappointment to the Lord, but it's a disappointment to the whole wide world.
That's what I love about you, sweetheart.
Thanks, son. I guess it's just because I was raised Christian, you know.
Atta girl. Oh, boy. Oh, God. She's going to use the monkey for a powder puff. Look at that's a classic. Oh, no, not right in the middle. The monkey stick.
Wait, no, I'll just fix it. Honey, all I'm gonna
Honey,
do is
Loretta,
just,
don't fool around with that electricity type stuff. Honey, you gonna get your... Oh! Loretta! Hey, you on it? Barth, help me! Barth, come on, man!
You know what? Mom would be having a fit if she knew I had an orange crush before breakfast.
Hey, you know what? She'd be right, too, huh? You should be drinking milk. It's good for you.
Well, she was always nagging me about what's good for me, what's not good for me. Her nagging wasn't good for me.
Yeah, but you miss her, don't you? Huh? I asked you a question. You miss her, don't you?
Oh, why do you have to go and get sappy? Just when I was beginning to like our freedom. Putting me on a diet or you going overboard with light food?
Oh, God, I'm sorry, Heather. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry, sweetheart. I forgot.
Forget it. I'll pick up a candy bar later. Mary would have remembered.
I guess you would have, yeah.
Tom, isn't HV here yet? He promised he would be here the first thing this morning to find Mary. Oh, Tom, I'm sorry I mentioned her name.
Oh, that's all right, Ma. That's all right. Listen, you want some bacon here?
No, thanks. You know, when George disappeared, when anybody would mention his name, why, it used to make me just crazy. And that happened a lot, you know, because George is a very common name for a man, as is Mary, which is a very common name for a woman. So I know what lies ahead of you.
Yeah, well, listen, Mom, you don't have to worry about me, okay?
Oh, now, Tom, you say it isn't hurting, but I know it is. You are just trying to be brave. I know how painful it is to be abandoned by someone you love. And it's going to get worse.
Mom, please. Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you very much, but please.
Oh, that must be HV now. I'm so excited seeing him again, even though I'm not abandoned or lonely. HV.
I've come.
You have.
You look very lovely, Martha, as always.
And you look so tall, as always. I'm glad some things don't change.
How is George, Martha?
George? Oh, George, he's just fine.
I was afraid of that, in a manner of speaking. If only Mary were, fine that is, instead of missing. I got your call, and I'm here if you need me.
Oh, yes, and especially Kathy, whose life is at stake.
Listen, HV, good to see you. Yeah. I'm sure you'll be able to handle this, huh?
HV can handle anything.
Well, where shall we start? Did she say where she was going? Have you looked at her clothes to see if she packed for a tropical or a Nordic climb?
Oh, HV, you are so poetic on the job.
No.
Oh, that should be investigated. Oh, a lot of things should be investigated. Mm-hmm. But what's going on down at the station is a real crime. The mayor has never appointed a new police chief since Texas blew up. And now the mayor suspended. Can you imagine how we feel with no one to look up to? Lost. That's how we feel.
Hey, well, Mary's lost. You're supposed to be able to find her. Now, how can you do that if you're lost?
Well, it would be a lot easier if our desk sergeant had disappeared. He usually took charge of things like this.
HV, he was definitely in charge of this. Find him, and you'll find Mary.
Foley? And Mary?
All right, yeah, I know. Everybody knows about it. Look, I don't care anymore. I really don't.
Well, if this is, romantic, maybe we shouldn't get involved.
Oh, yes, but we need Mary, especially Kathy, who needs her kidney. Oh, whoever can hear me, please help.
Oh, I'm very sorry. Do you have any more bacon, perchance?
Oh, sure, yeah, I got some right here. What the hell is this? Wish you were here. See you at 2 o'clock Friday. Oh, my love, Dennis. Maid of the Mist. What, he asked you to join him, huh? At the Maid of the Mist in majestic Niagara Falls.
Say, this could be a clue.
Oh, HV, bring our Mary back. Go to Niagara Falls.
Can I wait for the bacon?
Yeah, sure, coming right up.
Oh, HV, we need her.
You've got it, Martha. I'm going to catch the first bus to Niagara Falls. Count on me. Not too crisp.
He's a good man, isn't he?
Yes, He's a good man.
Doc? She all right, Doc? Doc, do I need an ambulance? I got the car right outside. I can take her to the hospital.
Easy does it. It's just a mild electrical shock.
Oh, that happens all the time.
Mild? What do you mean mild? The lady's unconscious, Doc. What does it take to be serious?
Well, if it had killed her, then there'd be no question.
Honey, Loretta, honey, are you okay?
Okay,
Doc,
I told you.
Doc, let me in.
Charlie,
Doc,
she's all right.
Are you okay, honey? You got a shock from the TV, honey. You got...
Right. Oh, God.
Are you okay?
Ooh! Doggies, honey, that shock run through me like a jackhammer. It just shook me like a worm blender and kind of turned my head around like an outhouse in a tornado. In short, Charlie, that was memorable.
It's a good thing I found the doctor here. He's right over at the Hartmans. Hey, Doc, what were you doing at the Hartmans? In the middle of the night like this?
At the Hartmans?
Yeah.
It's a sad case about the Shumway girl, Well, it's not one thing, it's another.
It always is.
What do you mean, another?
Well, if we can't find Kathy's sister for a kidney transplant,
Wait a minute, Dr. Furman, are you saying that Kathy might
What?
die?
Well, I mean, you said it, I didn't, But look, you can thank your lucky stars, Mrs. H. Mm-hmm. And, stop sticking your fingers in funny sockets, huh? Nighty-night.
Thank you, Doc.
Okay.
Bye. That guy, huh? Be a great anchor man.
You know something, Charlie? You know something? Dr. Furman was absolutely right. I could have just had my brain chicken fried just then, but I didn't. And it wasn't it was not due to no lucky stars that I didn't, Charlie. It was due to the fact that the good Lord, bless his heart, up above me is closely watching out for me. That's why.
Yeah.
Gosh, I wish he was watching over Mary and Kathy as close.
He is, honey. He is. Just that they're getting lousy reception because they ain't religious. They haven't turned on the set yet. Sweetheart, it's too bad you can't sing their troubles away like you do for us sometimes.
Well, maybe I can, Charlie. Maybe this is a sign. Yeah, maybe this is a sign from on high. See, the thing is, what with all been happening, first losing little Johnny Doe, then losing Mary, then what happened with the electrocution and everything, and then Kathy, bless her heart. See, and then I'm okay, Charlie. God made it so that I was okay, and maybe what he's trying to say through the sign, see, is like, Loretta, you have got to set aside over here your own personal problems and do what you can do for the other people like Kathy and Mary. Give your gift of joy and spread it to the world with your songs. That's what I've got, baby boy. I've got to get back on the road to superstardom. It's a definite sign.
Honey, you are saying a mouthful there, honey. That is music to my ears. Come on, sweetheart. Here you go, baby.
Oh, gosh,
Get
I
to
wish
work.
I had Richie Cutrow here.
Don't worry about it. Start working on it now.
Okay, let's see. Well, I never will forget the first time that we met dancing squares and a door and
Wait.
You was old as my baby.
Loretta, miss, excuse me. Hello, Earth calling Loretta. Is that what you do in your act?
Oh, gosh, I got Richie Cutrow, hon, and he's the best guitar player you ever seen. But I don't, I just create
But that's typical. That's typical of what she does.
Yeah. Isn't that something? Isn't that the best little country western singer you ever heard, man?
She has potential.
Potential. What do you call heaven on this earth potential, man?
What's she done lately?
Lately?
Yeah.
She's on a lull. She's on a little bit of a lull, but we're going to be right back before you can say cash box.
Yeah, Charlie, without, how should I put it, expert guidance, a man who knows what he's doing, counseling, there's a good shot you're going to be in the trash box before you'll be on cash box.
Wait a minute, are you suggesting that maybe you might help us?
Let's just put it this way, Mr. and Mrs. Haggers, this may be your lucky day.
Oh, did you hear that, honey? This could be our lucky day. How come?
Well, tomorrow morning, first thing, I'm going down to the television station, take care of the big deals, and then I think we need some dancers. I'm hearing background singers.
You mean for me?
Mm-hmm. And we're talking also wardrobe. We're going to need the Klieg lights. They're expensive. We're going to need the baby spots.
Good gosh, in Brazil! Charlie, do you believe this? It sounds fun.
Yeah, it's terrific,
Now, actually, before that, backtracking a bit, we're going to need a place to showcase the act while it's still in this experimental stage. You know any place like-
Experimental stages, man, you...
Capri Lounge. Perfect. Perfect place. I played there before. I'm
Okay,
used
it's the
to it.
Capri Lounge then, and we'll do that tomorrow night.
Tomorrow! Backup singers? Man, this isn't Dayton here. How are you going to get all that together?
Charlie, we're talking to Mr. Showbiz here. Do you know what I mean? If it can be done in showbiz, I can do it. In fact, let me see your act, as we call them. You should learn that.
You play guitar?
Oh, yeah. There's no problem there. The only thing is, I'm thinking is, what do we do next? Do we go to Las Vegas? No, I don't think so, Loretta. I think that's just too much flowers and feathers. Maybe New York. Nope, too Broadway. You know what? Loretta, would you ever consider doing television again? Like a special? Like the Loretta Hager show?
Are you serious? The Loretta Hager show, Charlie? Do you believe that? Are you
Would you do
serious?
it?
Would I do it? My gosh, the Loretta Hager show.
Oh, thank
you.
That's worth it right there.
Lord, I want to thank you so much for that electrocution.
How about a refill?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, take one.
Yeah, could I have another eggnog with something real in it this time?
Something real. Now, does that mean alcoholic? Because the doctor said you're not supposed to have that.
I need something to help me forget about my
Now,
troubles.
Kathy, come on. I know about that. You're asking for trouble. You're drinking alcohol. Now, come on.
Well, then what should I do then?
I better get those drinks.
Do you have any happy thoughts, Tom?
Yeah, sure.
Like what?
I lied. I don't have any.
That's what I figured.
How about you? You have any?
No.
Here we are. Eggnog.
Thank you, Mom.
Cheers.
Ma, I haven't had a very fulfilled life, have I?
Are you saying that you have never done anything worthwhile with your life?
Or fun, or fantastic, or exciting.
Well, you had a baby. Well, I thought all women wanted to have babies.
And Kathy, you had an affair with that deaf-mute fella, and a lot of girls never got to do that.
Yeah, I know, but it's just not the high point that I was looking for.
Kathy, look, honey, I just don't think you're going to get a high point.
Yeah, I think you're right. And you know, I've never even been to Disneyland.
Well, neither is Mary.
Say, maybe that's where she is.
Oh, gosh. Hi, everybody. How are you? Hi. Oh, Kathy, I'm sorry to be smiling and having a good time and everything when you're in the middle of your pathetic misery.
It's okay, Loretta.
Oh, you two are always so cheerful. And Tom and I are cheerful, too, but Kathy here is just distraught, you know, thinking about the things she never got to do in her short life.
Miss Shumway, let me just talk to Kathy for a second, okay? Do you mind?
Right, just
Here, I'll
sit right
just
in
scoot right on in here. Kathy.
Okay. Charlie. I'm sorry, I didn't
We gotta stop meeting like this.
see you there.
Listen up, Kathy, I just want to talk to you a minute, hon. And just know that it's me, Loretta Hager's talking to you, darling, and, well, just buck up. You know what I mean? Because now, first of all, Mary is going to be found, isn't she?
Yeah,
She's
sure.
definitely going to be found. And number two, hon, you are overlooking the best healer of all time, our friend upstairs, the Lord.
Listen, Tom, can I squeeze in too? I want to talk to Kathy.
Oh, yeah.
Just let me. Here we go.
Oh, wait a minute.
Wait a second. All right,
Go ahead.
But I'm over.
I told her.
Oh, boy, watch. Come on, move in.
Lord was
There we
looking
go.
out. You know, I made it.
You put on some weight, Tommy.
In the knees.
Yeah, in the knees.
Yes.
Sounds like a song.
Well, let's see.
You know, Kathy,
That's a good idea,
seriously, I have been hearing a lot about you, and I just want to tell you something. I feel safe in saying this without lying.
What?
You're okay.
Really?
Yeah. In fact, in my book, you're tops. You want to know why?
Why?
Because you're a winner. And it takes one to know one.
Let me ask you a question. Do you know what the hell you're talking about?
Tom, I mean, you're listening to a man who talks for a living. Of course. I mean, I can't afford not to know what I'm talking about, even on a scale job. Put it this way, some people have a way with words. Some people not have way. You know what I mean? See, you're perking up. So you got a bum kidney. Well, I've been on some bummers too, A kidney can lay you out for a while, that's for sure. But how about being involved in a major payola scandal, huh? But I'm pulling through. In fact, even right now, there's a major producer out here in the Midwest just scouring it for talent. Do you think that just because old Barth is laid out for a little while, he's going to be forgotten? Huh? Forgotten? Forget it. That's right. No, he's going to see the name Barth Gimble plastered all over the place. You want to know why? Because I'm writing him letters.
Oh. Yeah.
Good. Smart.
Yeah.
So listen, Kathy, let me be your guru, huh? Follow my footsteps. And most important, keep your chin up.
Yeah, Kathy, keep your eye on the ball.
Keep the faith, Kathy.
Keep a stiff upper lip.
We start this episode with Barth and the Haggers, and it looks like Barth is watching My Little Margie, which was the show that Heather would always want to go away and watch whenever Mary would tell her to do stuff. Can I go watch My Little Margie? Apparently, that show exists in the underground of this show, or in the background of this show. There is My Little Margie. I don't believe it was a real sitcom, but apparently it is still a hit show. The Haggers have their depression, of course, the things that they're dealing with, but also taking in all of the problems of the neighborhood, especially Tom and Mary, and eventually they'll find out about Kathy. When Loretta started playing with the wiring behind the television, I couldn't help but think of a certain young preacher, and I was really worried about that, but apparently getting shocked in this show isn't always the same fate. And then we have Tom in the kitchen, and I remember Mary having had the same effect happen in her kitchen, but this is unusual for Tom. I think Mary was much more used to things happening poorly in the kitchen for her. Like in the first season, she was pretty well recognized as an awful cook. Tom is making breakfast for Heather, who really is glad that Mary is gone. She feels like she is free, and Tom doesn't feel the same way. Tom wants Heather to be missing Mary, and she doesn't. Maybe she does underneath all of the pushback, but at least at the outward level, she is clearly happy that Mary is gone. Then Martha shows up, and for some reason HV is coming to the Hartman home. It makes much more sense today than yesterday why HV is there. I thought maybe he would be called in because of his kidney, and no, that doesn't make any sense. He's called in because he's a detective and he's able to find people. He's going to be looking for Mary. And luckily, Tom was doing this breakfast because he was able to find that postcard that Dennis sent from Niagara Falls, the Maid of the Mist. Of course, Martha and HV still have that chemistry that they have. They still dote on each other, even though Martha is unavailable and especially is holding on to the marriage with George. She's not interested in losing it, but she still has some of that spark. There is that spark between them. However, it looks like HV is going to go on a little adventure. I suppose that's something that we have to look forward to. What happens at the end of that when he gets to Niagara Falls? I don't know if we will actually see Niagara Falls, but I'm very curious what happens on this trip. And then Dr. Furman is back for a second episode in a row. Apparently he was right there next door, and that's how Charlie found him. The shock itself was more or less harmless, which is a good thing, But Dr. Furman, his function in the scene is to help Loretta and Charlie get caught up on the news next door. What's going on with Kathy? And Loretta adds another negative event to her list. She, however, takes her survival from this electrocution as a sign from God that she should be singing, finding a way to share the joy with the universe and finding a way to use that music to help the people around her who need it. And maybe that person is Barth Gimble, who is interested in producing the Loretta Haggers show, which apparently will happen tomorrow night. I'll say this for Barth. He certainly is a smarmy weasel, but he has a way of lifting spirits, and that's something that I'm glad to see, because everyone could just sit around for the next 2 weeks being depressed, and if anything, we have someone keeping people moving. We end up next at the Capri Lounge, where Tom and Martha are sitting with Kathy, who wants to dwell in her depression. And then Barth and the Haggers show up and squeeze themselves in, and Barth again is doing his positive act, right? I mean, it starts with Loretta, but then Barth barges into the table, and I would think of it as feeding platitudes. Like, literally, the last bunch of lines in the episode were platitudes from every single person at the table. But if it makes Kathy feel better, it makes Kathy feel better. And that's a function in this show, because she's got a lot to be concerned about. And Barth himself, he's really not got anything better than anyone else, right? He showed up in this series as very down on his luck, but he just is plucky. He just wants to keep moving forward and produce his show, right? Make something happen, attach his name to some great project, and that's his thing. So we'll see if this Loretta Haggard show is any good, and I'm glad that at least Loretta has a moment worth of confidence, a moment worth of feeling better about her life. Because that was the essence of the beginning of the scene, right? Kathy was really worried that she didn't do anything with her life, that all she did was kind of sleep with guys and have a baby. And she wants more, which I think is something that she's wanted for a little while in the series, but she still hasn't achieved anything. And if mortality is knocking on her door, she's only got so much to look forward to, so much time to do any of these things. So thankfully, Barth was able to instill just a little bit of hope in Kathy, and I think that's going to make a big difference. We'll find out. And now I will continue my overview, my very, very loose overview of the next 60 episodes of Mary Hartman, Mary Hartman. We're starting at episode 121, and I'm guided completely by my YouTube thumbnail folder. So I will be missing some things that happened. If I missed some stuff that you feel is worth mentioning, then go ahead and comment on it. So the last 10 episodes of season 1 feature the introduction of Billy 12trees, who is Martha's birth father, a Choctaw Indian who dresses like a stereotypical Indian. Mary has also been nominated for the most typical consumer housewife, which has been wreaking chaos in her life because all of the coverage is adding a level of chaos. She's got a documentary shooting in the home for the penultimate week of that season. Tensions ride high with Tom and Mary during this last 2 weeks of the season, as Betty McCullough has tried to set Howard up with Mary, and that leads to its own little conclusion with the McCullough family, as we understand that Ed and Howard are not actually brothers but lovers who struggle with coming out of the closet. And in the last week of season 1, Mary takes her trip to New York as things get chaotic in the home. Tom isn't there and the house is falling apart, and she has to take that trip to New York City so she can be on the David Susskind show. And she has some interesting experiences that I won't tell you about, but really hit me hard. The season ends with Mary on that show making some big realizations, and those realizations lead to her at the start of season 2 being institutionalized. The dust settles on a lot of the different storylines. Loretta and Charlie have had some issues because there was a big fight at the end of season 1, and Charlie, well, he's not doing too well. Kathy comes back after having run off with someone, and it turns out that she's pregnant. We meet Patty Gimble, who becomes a friend with Mary because she is the nurse at the hospital where she's staying. Mary is a bit of a celebrity, and that is something that the hospital is using to gain funds. We meet Wanda Jeter as a patient at the hospital, and Mary has to deal with another patient who has a nuclear bomb and is planning to blow up most of Ohio. Kathy hooks up with Brian and Christine, who are planning to pay for her baby, and this is where Martha and Detective Johnson take up their relationship. As George has completely disappeared from the show, he mysteriously disappeared before the first episode of the second season. Charlie's old friend Jody Troxel comes to town and moves in with the Haggers, and they take up a racing partnership, a stock car racing or drag racing partnership. I forget which one of those. It's racing. There seems to be somewhat of a triangle between the Haggers and Jody, but it's a bit confusing because it's very clear that Loretta and Charlie still love each other, even though they're having a certain problem that Charlie feels the need to deal with. Of course, his adventures lead to some very exciting circumstances and potentially to his doom as he gets depressed and leaves Loretta and Jody together. Mary has some very confusing feelings about Annie. On the one hand, she's quite jealous of Tom and Annie and the time that they spend together. On the other hand, she's confused because Annie seems to be interested in women as well as men. And that's especially confusing because she got a kiss in a flashback from Annie. And of course, there's Merle and Wanda Jeter. They get together after Mary is released from the hospital, and they take on a political direction. Y'all, this week has been bonkers. So all I can say is thank you so much for watching with me. Thank you so much for leaving your thoughts, feelings, and impressions down in the comments. Thank you for watching these final ocho episodes of Mary Hartman. We will see you tomorrow night in Fernwood.